Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to another OSR tabletop with myself, Richard Bloodworth Salati. So as you can see, this is not so much of an impromptu live stream. I actually posted this about 11 hours ago. So I hope that you're getting the messages that that live streams are going to be coming up, or any video dropping. You get those actual alerts. I know that sometimes YouTube is a little bit quirky with that. So I'm hoping. I did reach out to at least one person who says that he keeps on missing these alerts. The other thing that you can try to do is to click off that bell button and click back on it again. And hopefully that kind of resets your alert status. So I'm hoping this live stream does find you well. And I'm going to jump right off and start inviting people in. So you're welcome to come in. This is an open mic, my Sunday open mic, live streams open to anyone, talking about any, hopefully gaming related topics. But sometimes we'll go a little bit astray, and that's fine as well. Like I said, this is open mic. So I am going to put out that in a moment, and then start saying hello to people that are already chiming in. So there is the link in the chat, so you can come right in backstage. And Michael Stengel. So Michael and I were playing at OttoCon yesterday, and he was in my Shadow Dark game. Shards of Ymir. Also, Dakota was in the house, and Dakota played in that same adventure, Michael, back in September of last year at ShireCon, and that's an upcoming convention which I actually invited Michael to attend as well. So I did spend a good deal of time talking about not only the convention that we were at yesterday, but my upcoming two conventions that I wanted to give a shout out to, to those conventions as well. So, and that is the primary focus today, is to talk about my June conventions or upcoming conventions. So, we were just at OttoCon, and it was a really great day, other than the weather. I mean, there was a downpour of rain, but we were quasi indoors. We were under a pavilion that pretty much kept us dry. Not everybody remained dry in that, and it was a pretty out of the it was quite unexpected, I guess. That is certainly the way that it came down as well. But we had managed for the most part. To Fred and Mary, awesome convention. I really wish I could have stayed for the second half, but I had some errands that I had to do at home. I'm doing a lot of, having a lot of construction being done at the home. And so I was going to have to make a run to the dumps. And even though that got called off, I still had plenty of other errands to do around the house to get some other things rolling. We actually shot out to Home Depot and bought a whole bunch of stuff that afternoon as well. So the house is coming along well, and these next 2 weekends with conventions and some of that other housework being done is really pretty tight. So I give my wife a lot of credit for putting up with me and actually being okay, sort of, with me being away 2 Saturdays consecutively. So OttoCon was awesome. Fred and Mary, awesome job. The the convention definitely grew from last year. So I don't know what kind of percentage you put on it. Probably at least 30%, if not 40% increase from last year. I think they were hoping for around 75 or 80, and it was certainly over 100. All right. Probably not 125 or so, but it was certainly an additional 30 or more people there. And, the room was really getting pushed to capacity, or the space was really getting pushed to capacity. And so, hopefully, and I will certainly assist, in that. Fred said that they were over 100, and and Mary said the same thing. Like, she was like, "There's over 100 people here." She says, "I know we were talking about it because I had interviewed them a couple weeks prior too," and she said, we were talking like, well, hopefully it's around like 75 or maybe 80 or so, but this is well over 100. So, if my boosting had anything to do with that, I am so pleased that the people I did reach out to, certainly did attend. So I went to several local game shops and invited people to go. And then while I was there, at the convention, I was, of course, pitching the Central New York Game Convention, and this is coming up next weekend. This is in New Hartford, New York, not to be confused with Connecticut. New Hartford, New York. It's right outside Utica, and it's both June 14th and 15th, so a 2-day full con. However, that Sunday is Father's Day, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stay far into the morning of that Sunday. So I have to see how things are going with that. But I handed out a whole stack of these. I actually only kept one left for myself at home, and everything else I gave to Fred to hand out to the rest of the goers there. So hopefully, a lot of people are walk-ins, or they reached out to tabletop events and were able to sign on. Roger, if you are going to see this, or if you're seeing this right now, so many praises about this, this card. So a lot of people were super, super impressed with this. A group that was running, and I'll have to look it up and see. They were special guests, and I have to look it up, but they do a live play, and they were really impressed with this, with this advertisement for it. They love the whole, very old school aesthetic of this. So, and then of course I pitched ShireCon to everyone. Now this is in September, so this is not a June convention as my label there says for this live stream. So so it's not clickbait. It's just one thing that I have to bring out there is that ShireCon is my next con in between, like after next weekend's con. So I'll be prepping for this. I am no longer going to be running my Shards of Ymir. So I am retiring that adventure. I've run it almost 11. Well, it'll be 11 times this upcoming weekend, and so I'm going to stop at 11. And I will be running Castles and Crusades at this convention, at least the one session of it. I am working on an adventure of my own creation. However, if I do get the starter kit in time, that starter kit is designed to introduce people to Castles and Crusades. And if I do get that in time, and in time means anytime around August, that will give me enough time to fully absorb it, and then reach out to Tom, who is the organizer of ShireCon, and see if I can switch that up adventures, one, my own for that one, because I would like to really introduce people to the game using their own Troll Games' own adventure designed for doing that. On top of that, this will also be the first event that I am participating in Troll Lord Games organized play for both Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures. And that organized play is known as Endless Worlds. And so it is my first contribution towards Endless Worlds. And I'm looking to bring that at least one session every single convention that I do attend to in 2026 towards that as well. So be on the lookout for a lot more talk about that. As you can see, Castles and Crusades, I'm a huge fan of Castles and Crusades. My channel has been really dedicated to putting out a lot of content. I believe I'm around like 95 videos. And these aren't shorts. These are 95 full-length videos, 30, 40-minute long videos, just talking about Castles and Crusades and the various products that I own and have been using for quite some time. So be on the lookout for upcoming videos along those lines as well. So let me see if I get some questions here, and I will give shout outs to everyone once again. So, hey, Fox, how's it going? Hey, lads, how are you all doing? Just in work, but I'll listen along. Well, good. Welcome to have you here. I'm hoping that you're hearing it loud and clear. And everyone else, I'll go through now and say, so once again, hello, Michael. Good to see you again, sort of. You can jump in the chat if you wish to jump in backstage, and I will bring, anyone up to a total of 9 people can join in on this. The Ultra American TTRPG, welcome. Good to see you again. And Ducato, as always, good to see you as well. And we have Mark Morrison that just popped in. Good evening, Mark. And again, I will put the link in there once again, so anyone is welcome to join in on that link. Let me get rid of this little thing here. And so let's see what else I was going to talk about. So so that's kind of my convention news and everything like that. So next week I'll be doing a convention. I'll be there all day Saturday and rolling into Sunday morning. Again, I'm supposed to play in Joseph Block's his, I guess it's like a skirmish game scenario from a Greyhawk battle, and it always slips my mind what it's actually called. And I'm hoping to catch that. Got to play with the weather and the fact that it is Father's Day, so hopefully I don't have to drop out. And hopefully, if I do drop out, somebody else is sitting there at the ready to pop right in and fill that spot. I'm sure that will happen. And then I will definitely catch Joseph's game at ShireCon in September. I know I keep on putting this off, but I absolutely want to sit in on that game. Just unfortunately, Father's Day is this Sunday, so that's kind of a bummer there. But have to keep my children happy if they want to spend the day with me. So here we go. Hey, how's it going, Ajax? Any CNC modules any good? I've got the Core Worlds, but I'm interested in adventure. I was on their live stream the other day, and I won a $10 gift certificate. And so I just picked up an adventure from them with that gift certificate in PDF, and that is called Winter's Bite. So it's a 3rd level adventure. I just started reading the caption of it, and it's like people are disappearing from the town, and that's pretty much where it kind of left off. And just the look on the cover and everything, I was like, all right, that's cool. That's a good spend of free money basically, and getting nice template for adventure writing for Castles and Crusades. It's something I want to do much more. Also, Troll Lord Games just sent an email out to the backers of the Hermit which is Gary Gygax's The Hermit. And we just got our copy, the PDF copy of the Shadow Dark conversion of The Hermit, which I'm really excited with, because that's going to, I think, make The Hermit much more playable, to be honest with you. I think that it's going to be a lot smoother and easier to follow than utilizing the more advanced rules of Castles and Crusades, and and its original version, which was originally written for Legendary Adventures, I believe. So yeah, it was originally written for Legendary Adventures. So glad to have all three versions of it now, and I'll see which one I kind of grab from to utilize in either my new Castles and Crusades campaign, which is about to begin in a couple of weeks once I get past this 2 weeks time of convention, thought patterns, and just preparing for that. So I'm looking forward to actually starting that new campaign, and I'll see how I'll introduce these adventures to them as well. So yeah, so there are some good modules out there. A0 is which is like Night Rises, and that's a good introductory adventure. A1 is supposed to be very good too. So and I have them. I just don't, when I don't run adventures that are officially licensed adventures, word for word, straightforward, or anything like that, I usually just snatch ideas from them, or I'll certainly utilize maps like crazy from them, because I'm a horrible map maker, and I just basically scavenge from them and utilize it for that purpose. But yeah, they have a lot, and they're very reasonably priced too. If you look at their, if you go to trollord.com, and you'll go right into the shop, and you can buy adventures for a lot of things. Hey, Swords and Stones, how's it going? Glad to see you, and you're kind of a new name for me. So if you haven't been here before, extra welcome to you. I hope that you enjoy the conversation. And again, anyone is willing, anyone can jump in on this. This is an open mic. Whatever you want to talk about, I'll certainly be here for at least an hour, hour and a half, just having a chat about gaming. And even though I've already covered my convention space and everything, I will be talking about the 2 upcoming conventions coming up that I will be attending at. And so hopefully I'll see you there as well. And let's move on to some other topics. So things that I just got, so haven't dropped into one of your chats as of yet. Well, you're certainly welcome. So hello again. So do you think older GMs get more than they prefer, less crunchy game systems? Will Rules Light become more popular with older gamers? I mean, Rules Light to me is, D&D 1983 Beckme is Rules Light compared to some modern games, right? So yes, I know that the OSR tends to make their game systems, quote unquote, Rules Light, but really all they're doing is they're throwing back to old school D&D. They're throwing back to like Holmes and Moldvay or Menser and those variants of D&D. So yeah, so I think GMs of the OSR have been Rules Light for quite some time. And I'll let Takato in here. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Good to see you. Oh, look, we're wearing shirts, wearing the same shirt.
Oh, no kidding. There we go. Almost like we planned it.
Like mines, I guess. So yeah, you want to field that question too. So do you think that older GMs get the more they prefer get more or prefer more or less crunchy game systems? Will rules light become more popular with older gamers?
Yeah. Well, from speaking from my own experience,
Mhm.
that's definitely the direction I go in. That's
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. Like I was just saying, that I think that older games were rules light compared to some modern game systems.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at game systems, older game systems, some are built around just one die type, like Star Wars WEG, is just built around the D6. Traveler, it's built around the D6. I
Pretty
mean,
simple.
yeah. Now D&D Beck Me or Holmes Edition or whatever, those have very simplistic character sheets, in the sense that you were really encouraged to role play beyond the character sheet because you
Yep.
didn't have all of those feats. And I think the biggest difference is that the older game systems, you don't have that very multi-layered action economy, which in some cases really does sour, I think, a lot of people's perception of the games, the way that they run. You can be fighting 15 goblins in AD&D and first edition, and that fight might last you 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yep.
or you could be fighting those same 15 monsters, goblins, whatever, in 5e, and it might take you 35 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
because of the action economy and everything, of just, second wins, or now I get to, he stepped away from me, so I get a reprisal attack, or however, the system works. But the biggest complaint about that system is that the combat is just overblown and it just takes too damn
It's really
long.
slow.
Yeah,
I
it's
played in.
really slow in comparison.
I
So,
ran 2 campaigns. One of them wasn't bad because I only had 3 players and they were awesome players. But I played in 2 other 5e campaigns. The combat is painful, and all the game masters came to that conclusion by the end. They're all done now. They came to that conclusion at the end, is that combat is way slower in 5th edition. Like, it's painfully slow because there's just too much stuff.
yeah,
They can go down a Rolodex of things that they can do, and and some players are okay with that and they do well with it, but others, it's that analysis paralysis. And we
yeah,
had people like that in our groups. But consistently, I mean, we have a big group, but it would take 45 minutes on average to do a combat round. One round. It was awful. Awful. And people were hesitant when I switched to Castles and Crusades, but they're now all on board. And some of the guys have actually run it since. Like, they've switched to
yeah.
it when they run games.
Hey, Michael, welcome.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, good, good. Good to see you again. It was not that long ago. What was it? Probably about 18 hours ago or so, that we parted ways. Ducato here also played in that same adventure, and his group going through that, they didn't actually get the shard in that adventure. Like, none of them
Nope.
actually got the shard in there. The whole place collapsed, but they survived for the most part. I think only two player characters died in your session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right at the end.
In the collapse. Yeah, in the collapse.
Yep, right
2
at the
died
end.
in the collapse. In their session, in yesterday's session, 2 almost died in the collapse. Luckily, they had enough left in the pool to get some extra strength rolls to pull them out to safety. Otherwise, that would have been a close call. But yeah, it's a good. So, do you want to answer that question too, Michael? Of you find that old school GMs are more open to rules light games than, or more open to or less open to rules light games?
Yeah, it seems to be that they'll a gravitation towards rules light games.
Mm.
Um, but I think I listened to James Raggy just recently was on a stream, and he made the point that if you have rulings over rules, but once you
Mhm.
make a ruling, you kind of have to be consistent. Otherwise, people don't know how to behave, how to act in
Right.
your world. So the ruling becomes a rule,
Hmm.
and so after a while, your rules light game has rules, even if they're unique to your game.
Right. Yeah, and if you're introduced rules or rules modifications lead to drawing things out more so than it does to tightening things up, then then maybe sometimes you don't have to necessarily carry the same rules that you're using during one campaign into another. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah,
It's like
yeah, sure.
no matter how long your or short your campaigns are, I think a new campaign can oftentimes be a good time to do a reset and to run, utilize different rules this time around. And I do that with my own group. Like my own group, we've been together now for a little over 3 years, and
Yeah.
even though we've played the same systems in different campaigns over some of that time, or different genres and different game systems entirely over that time. um, I've often changed some of my house rules from one to the other. The only exception being like maximum hit points at first level is always going to find its way
Sure.
across, in every single situation. But other times, especially with Shards of Ymir, I've changed up that momentum system, basically, or the token system, the luck tokens. I've changed that up, a number of times over the 10 runnings of that game adventure, just to, basically tweak it out and get a good sense of, this seems to be working. Your group yesterday, and I think why you were probably more, um, you know, you had the best of the outcomes of the other 10 group or 9 groups that have gone through it. A really unique outcome, um, is that at the end you were utilizing those luck tokens differently than anyone else. I'm not going to reveal it because I'm still going to run it again this Saturday.
Yeah.
And Takata will be there, but he won't be in that game, but he will be there. So I don't want to
Yep.
whisper to anybody, hey, here's the trick.
Hey, do this.
But but your group did something that no other group had done before, all right, with the utilization of those tokens. And I think that's what really gave you the edge at the very end. So that was a unique experience, and you guys were a little bit luckier too.
Yeah.
There was that one shot when someone was getting hit by the big bad boss at the end, even though it wasn't bad, but the big boss at the end. And I remember it was, what do you have, 8 hit points, and this thing was hitting him for 2 to 20. And I was like, oh, I was like, holy shit, you're so freaking lucky that you survived that hit, because that would have been, no re-rolling a character in the last scene of an adventure. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's like,
Right.
that's just not the way it's gonna go. But yeah, you guys are pretty lucky, and and I haven't had a group, to be honest with you, that had gone through more than 3 major combats. Um, well, maybe there was one that hit 4 combats, and that was a pretty grueling. That was the full 4 hours too, but that was a really grueling, slog that they had to go through. But you guys only had, really, other than the environmental hazards and everything, you guys only had the 2 main combats. Um, along the way. Oh, you had the bar brawl. You had a bar brawl that nobody else had actually encountered either. So yeah, so you had three, but one of them was fairly minor. But yeah, you guys avoided quite a bit, which is again, great thing for you guys that you avoided some of those other challenges, because two of them would have been like hope you have a lot of coins to use to get you through those fights. So luckily you avoided those.
Yeah,
But,
I thought the luck tokens, that mechanism that you designed, worked out pretty well. I was interested to see how that was going to work, because I'm looking at a number of different games, including like up to like Daggerheart that just came out,
mhm.
that are using meta currencies.
Yeah.
And I was a little concerned sometimes with them that you're going to get like a separation between what's happening in game and then the separate mini game of the meta currencies. But
Mhm.
it flowed very well yesterday.
Yeah, I think that is because, and I haven't really, I purchased that game. I've been kind of walking through it a little bit too. And I didn't get to their meta currency, section yet, but I think it's working better for two reasons. Number one, I built it off of the Conan 2D20 momentum system, which I think is a phenomenal system. You know, and that has other added elements to it as well. Although I don't take the Doom, because I was like, if I want to give you an additional challenge, I don't need a currency as the game master to do that.
Okay.
If I think that you're having too easy of time, I'm going to throw you additional challenges. Or vice versa. I can tweak something down if I'm going to try to, not have you just automatically fall into a total party wipe either. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so that was the first reason. Then I think that the lethality of Shadow Dark also works well with that as well. It's a lot less forgiving than a lot of other games out there. Like if you had I think 5e and Ducato, you could probably explain it better than I can. It has an inspiration system. Does that work kind of the same way?
The one in Shadow Dark, you mean?
Not well,
Compared to
yeah,
5e?
or just as a token system where you get to roll with advantage, or you can get to
Yeah,
re-roll or by the expenditure. So that's how inspiration in 5e
yeah.
works, correct?
It depends on the table. I've played at tables where you have to roll your inspiration, like you declare that you're using it right off the bat. And then I've
Right.
played in other games where we've allowed, like our games, you could roll it afterwards. So like if you rolled like crap, you could be like, hey, I'm going to use my inspiration. Good,
Right.
re-roll. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with the
But that's
system,
basically how it
because
works.
5e is definitely more forgiving than most.
Oh, hell yeah.
Does it overbalance it towards the player advantage of you using inspiration in 5e?
I think because the game is 5e is so slated in favor of the players.
Yeah.
I don't know if it overbalances, but it just compounds it. Like it's just more stuff that the players have
At
the
their
ability
disposal.
to avoid,
Yeah.
harm or death or bad things, and
Yeah.
it's not I mean, I've seen that system, that advantage, inspiration. I've seen it morphed. We've used it in like our Dragonbane games and stuff. I don't think it's a bad rule,
Right.
but I think in 5th edition, just because the characters are so capable of doing things very early on, like they're
Right.
superheroes. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fantasy Avengers. So it's just one more thing that you're like, as a game master, you have to like deal with. You're like, oh, good, you got, And the biggest thing with advantage, especially during the early runs of 5th edition, was game masters would forget to give it out. I rarely ever gave it. Usually when I gave it, it was because one of the other players is like, oh, he should get inspiration for that, and I'd be like, oh yeah, you're right, he should. I would just totally forget it. And that was pretty common. They found that Wizards of the Coast, when they were doing like studies and stuff. That's why, like in the new version, I think you start every day with it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, good, more shit that you can do.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was my experience too. Is that it just didn't come up? It wasn't awarded by the DM.
No, I've played with some
Didn't
DMs that
exist.
give it out. They're really good about it, but I wasn't one. Like I would always
Okay.
forget to give it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the games I was in, the only time it only like once or twice, and it was because the DM liked a pun that one of the players said or something like that.
Yeah.
Had nothing to
Yep.
do with what was actually happening in the game.
Cool. Yeah. Curry, hey, how's it going? Welcome. So let's see. CNC OK is the rules from the supplement books are used if they're used, if the rule supplement books are used. Yeah, it's which I have been doing actually this upcoming campaign that I'll be running for Castles and Crusades. I am using a lot of those supplement rules that I haven't really gotten into yet. So yeah, this is the first time that I'm cracking open first the Reforged and then the Castle Keeper's Guide to a much greater extent than I had done in the past. I think it might actually make them a little bit more powerful than before, at least have a few more options than they used to have before. But I'm also going to amp up the challenge as well. And so that's something I also like to do with the Shadow Dark in that particular adventure. I was like, yeah, you're going to need these coins because, yeah, there is no way that you could go through 5 encounters in my adventure and not have at least 2 or 3 characters die. Just not going to happen because those were, whether it's the ice worm or the big bad guy or some of the other ones which I made you aware of at the time. Again, I'm going to run it next weekend, so I don't want to blow too much out of the water for it. But there's a definite need for those tokens in that particular adventure because it is meant to be a convention adventure as well. So it's meant to be very dynamic and fast paced and challenging. But anyway, yeah. So I know Acts 2 is great. I'm curious to see how Acts 2 is going to work at lower levels when you're not really dealing with the domain play. So that I haven't dug into just yet. I mean, I have the books right there behind me. I'm certainly going to be continuing my coverage of them, and and I'm looking forward to at some time play it and certainly run it at some point, maybe for 2026. That'll be another game system that I will start to cycle into my my repertoire of running systems. So I purchased a white box version of Castles and Crusades over the Christmas holidays. Yeah, and that's the one right behind me as well. And yeah, that's really good. I would bring like a white box version to a convention because I think it's first of all, it's easy to travel with, and secondly, it kind of covers what you want to do. I'm waiting for the new starter kit, which is supposed to come out. They're just waiting for the boxes. So I think by early August, we should have that in hand. Potentially July as well. Stephen was talking about that. So it could be out as early as July. Yeah, haven't had a chance to run it yet. Yeah. So let's see. Chris got okay. I'm old and slow and respectfully. So it's Adventure Conqueror King. All right, by Alexander Macris, and it's a game system. I'm going to say this. I don't know if he would say this himself, the author himself, but I think the game system is much more focused on domain play than it is on getting to those higher levels. And that is what I think it's most well known for, is its domain play. And domain play, since we'll bring that up, because I know I brought that up in the Castles and Crusades live stream, in the Troll Lord Games live stream, and they weren't quite sure what I meant about domain play. But they say that there's a little bit more of that in in the new Castle Keeper's Guide, the Reforged Castle Keeper's Guide. But domain play is when your characters are no longer just looking at an adventuring, life, but they're looking at building their
Kingdom.
status. So gaining titles, gaining land, setting up guilds, just getting into the much bigger picture of domain than just I'm an adventurer going out and doing these, dungeon crawls and that kind of stuff, or saving the world or that kind of stuff, but more of a, what they call domain play, just more of a, controlling vast areas and, establishing, a network of people working for you, behind the scenes kind of thing, along the way. So it's kind of like taking the henchman system that there was from AD&D first edition, and just expanding it and making it much more of a central focus of gameplay. So let's see what else. I have been reading over the CNC Player's Guide more and more, going to review it soon. Cool. Such a simple system, but has no lack of depth. That's true. And there's even more that you can add to that depth if you choose to with the Adventurer's Backpack. You're adding a whole bunch of new subclasses and various backpacks that go along with them. They're going to be introducing some new classes with the current backer kit that's out there, and some other stuff as well. So yeah, check out my video or my video on the backer kit from 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and you'll see a lot more detail about what that is going to introduce to the game.
It's also super easy to port stuff too. Like it's super easy to port stuff into it. Like,
oh yes.
One of its strengths is that you can do that. I brought in like several different things from like the Hyperborea RPG, which is awesome. Just like that. I like their version of. I like part of it. Like the Hyperborea's version of weapon specialization, I think, is better in some regards. So I've used some of that. How their undead work in Hyperborea, I like better. Where I've never liked level drain. I hate level drain as a player and as a game master. I hate it because it's a pain in the butt. So they do attribute damage instead for their.
Yeah,
drain.
I saw that. I saw. Yeah, I saw someone's comment. Someone's post someplace was talking exactly about that too, and they were doing attribute drain instead of level drain.
Yeah. And it still scares the hell out of your players when you start zapping.
Yeah, and you still have to do because they can still die, number one, and then there's no way to recover from that because you'd have to do a combination, right? You'd have to do both a restoration and a.
In Hyperborea, the way they do it is, how's that work? The points can come back, except for the last one. The final point.
One.
You have to have a restoration spell. I think with rest, like complete rest, like you're not traveling, you're not doing it, you're in bed, you're resting. You earn your points like one a day or whatever it is. The last one, you got to come up with a spell to fix it.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, it's just easier to deal with at the table than, oh shit, like what did I lose because I lost 2 levels? It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I've never liked it.
Well, if you had the bare minimum of, the required attribute level for your class, you could actually lose a class.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. They don't really do that. In CNC, they don't really have that, though.
They have a few. There's like a 9 minimum.
Oh, is there?
It's fairly low, but there is a 9 minimum for paladins, for rangers. They do have a couple that are a 9 minimum for. Yeah,
you gotta have it.
Especially for those classes, like Paladin's notorious for having a lot of required, attribute scores, which makes them super rare, and so
We don't have one in my
Not a
game.
perfect
We've had
copy.
a couple, but they've never lasted.
Yeah.
That's because the players dropped out, not the class. I think the Paladins actually really. My son and I were just talking about it earlier tonight, and I like it. I wish somebody in the game would play one, because I'd love to see it get played, through to higher levels.
Right. So let's tackle this question here. Any thoughts on using AI like GPT for home games as tools, quick art for players or handouts, not
Yep.
for publishing for money? Um,
I don't have a problem with it.
yeah, I mean, if that's fine. I mean, especially for like art, like when my players want to, they're like, hey, I'm looking for like an avatar to use on my character sheet or whatever. Yeah, using any of those things is fine. Um, that I have no issue with. Would I personally use AI to write an adventure for my home game? No,
No.
I write my own.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need any assistance to, I'm not saying I'm the greatest or anything like that or hyper, creative or anything. I just, for me, I'm, I would have a harder time putting prompts in, and having it come out the way that I really want anyway. Plus, the one time that I've ever used it where I did try putting in some prompts, the story just kept on going on and on and on. And I was like, when the hell does this thing stop? I was like, I didn't realize, like, it'll write 10,000 pages if you let it just roll. And it's like, no. I like this first paragraph, and that's all I wanted from it. I didn't exactly know how to stop it from just keep on rolling out. And I was like, I just used my own. Did you have something to add to that, Michael?
No, not really. I've only briefly played around with some AI. One time, kind of working on there was a Dungeon 23, Facility 23 trend going around at the
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
I guess the beginning of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried doing putting together like a Metamorphosis Alpha kind of scenario with enhanced raccoons or something like that. So to put together some characters, I used a little bit of AI, and I noticed that you have to really challenge it, otherwise you just get like bog standard information back. You really have to say, like, almost like you do sometimes when you roll on different tables, and you get this is the Crimson Citadel of the Forgotten whatever,
Yeah.
you put together things that normally don't go together. That's what you have to do, I think, with the AI, is force it to mash together things that wouldn't normally go together and get something interesting out of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like terribly generic and bland.
Yeah. I guess it's something like I'm reading Curry Scott's message here, like using it for game prep, for image generation and everything like that. Yeah, especially if you're looking to, just spark some kind of an idea in your mind where you'll go. And I was like, hey, I really like this, concept, and now I can build my own thing around that particular concept that just came up as random. I've used random generators that are just, rolling dice and looking at a chart or whatever, or pulling cards like those dungeon decks and those kinds of things are essentially the same thing. It's a random generator. And sometimes you can, like I said, you don't have to run it exactly the way that the cards came out or the dice rolled or whatever, but it'll start to just give you some.
Yeah, that's the way I use it.
Some
You
sparks.
get something, and if the AI spits back something interesting,
Yeah.
you take that idea and you throw away the rest of it. I would never use it for like a final, just cut and paste. This is my entire paragraph of what I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I think rules life for me is more player action based on their game involvement, but less on the character sheet. So making choices that are limited to keeping the game moving without 5 options each. Yeah. And that's basically, that's why, I kind of, point out, to me, the action, like having a multi-layered action economy, is just a bad design. I mean, it's just going to lead to making those combats, which should only take, 20, 30 minutes, and it's going to push it out well over an hour, and, most of my, even when I ran, for 10 players in an AD&D first edition campaign, and even with 10 players, we never had a combat last much more than an hour and 10 minutes. All right. You take those same 10 player characters, the same monster. This was an ancient dragon, and applied 5e to it. You're talking 3 hours, easily 3 hours with
Yep.
all of the, inflated hit points and, all of the other stuff. It's going to be too long of a slog, and they're going to get bored with it, and then
Well,
just
that's
remember, if it's a 3 hour combat, how long is each person's turn taking, and
too long.
think about the other players that are down the line in that, like, they're going to sit there and wait for 30 minutes, 40 minutes before they get to do anything. I played in a convention game one time where myself and another player's characters got paralyzed, and we were paralyzed for like 45 minutes in a convention game where we're just sitting there. We can't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and it's like, I'm kind of like looking at the DM, like, and this was an AD&D second edition. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at him like, all right, well, you got 2 players sitting here at a 6 that haven't done a thing in 45 minutes, of real time. And then we finally got recovered, and then boom, got hit again, and we're back out again for another like 40 minutes. And it's all right. So we're both sitting here in a 3 to 4 hour game, and 90 minutes of the time, my character was just, I was like, I hope my character dies. In my head, I'm like, I hope my character dies. And I was like, oh no, I'm not re-rolling another character. Just get up and walk, and that would have been the end of it. It was a horrible experience to sit there. So I can only imagine what it's like in a home game where you're, maybe a convention game is worse to be in that situation, but in a home game, I would not put up with it. I would be like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. You better make a change, and, that's just you can't have your players just like kind of wallowing in boredom, waiting for it to come through. Let's see. Just won the CNC books at North Texas RPG Con. Silent auction, 3E, I think. So third printing of the CNC books. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, they're not third edition, they're third printings. So if they are pre-2010, you're going to have some differences in the encumbrance system, because in the 10th printing of the Player's Handbook, James Ward. I was going to get Charles Ward. James Ward worked on the encumbrance system and altered the encumbrance system. They also altered in that printing, in the 10th printing, the monk and the barbarian classes are a little bit different pre and then post. But that was the only printing where there were some major revisions of game systems in the game. Been wanting to learn CNC. Yeah, it's such an easy system to pick up and learn, but there are other complexities that you can certainly add into it along the way. And that's where the Castle Keeper's Guide comes in. We're not required to play it, but if you have all 3 books, Yeah, just look to start your players off with just the player's handbook, and then slowly integrate some of the stuff from the Castle Keeper's Guide. You'll be fine with that system. All right. I like just enough crunch for a good chew, but not so much that my teeth are waiting, lose teeth waiting for a turn. Yeah. Yeah, my game, 4 people combat, might take 5 to 10 minutes, not 1 to 2 hours. Yeah. So let's see, what else do we have in here? So the new arms, and yeah, I'm liking these books too. And that's another thing that I'll be integrating in. Adds a lot of good stuff to the CNC. I really like some of the, like, I'm looking at the goblins weapons and everything. I'm just looking through them. I'm like, wow, these things don't deal a lot of damage at all. All right, and that's because
None of the weapons really do.
right? What was that, Takato?
None of the weapons really do. They all have fairly low damage
Yeah,
value.
they don't do a whole lot. I mean, you might see I don't recall if I seen anything that was like a D10 or
Very,
anything
very
above that.
few.
Very, very few. But a lot of their weapons were like a D3,
Yeah.
yeah, D4, max D6, and I was thinking that maybe that's just because they're small size, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I got to look through the rest and see, how I'm going to introduce those, and and see how they work out with it. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. Oh, good, Agile. Yeah, you're the one that I was specifically talking about. Yeah, so it's like I was in my New York CNC shirt all day yesterday. Yeah, so it's yeah, I know, because you haven't been getting those messages, that those alerts that it's going up. So that's why I sent it out to you direct. So hopefully that clears up. Maybe you want to, like, I don't know if you were here earlier on, maybe you want to just hit that alert button off and then re-click it back on again. And that might reset it, reset it for you. Acts 2, yes. Anything in particular? And I think you said you were at work, right? Well, you're still welcome to jump in. Hey, anybody else is welcome to jump in if you want to hop on in. There's the link. And well, thank you, Agile. That's really, really appreciated as well. And I'll be giving out some free memberships as well along. And yes, you've been a member now for 11 months. So thank you so much for that as well. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait till I forget which con you said you were going to. I can't wait to cross paths at a convention when Troll Lord Games is there, and I'm trying to get trying to build up capacity at Rising Phoenix game convention that'll be next April, and that's really where I was going to do the endless worlds and try to do organized play there, and hopefully we can get them to come up to Massachusetts. I mean, they went to Philadelphia last year, and so I think that's going to be a normal one for them. But Philadelphia is a little bit too big, for me. I'm certainly not going there this upcoming year, but maybe the following year I'll go out to Philadelphia and get to page. That would be page 4. So I'll look forward to doing that in 2027. But 2026, it's going to be Massachusetts in April. Better time of the year for me as well. So time to hit the dealer hole, 45 minutes. Well, have a great time. I guess you're at North Texas as well, Paul. No, they're shutting down today, right? They're finished today. I think North Texas ends today. So I don't know if they're there, but if anyone's going to Central New York this upcoming weekend, let me know. because I'll definitely touch bases with you. I have a nice 4-hour block that's wide open where I can just network with people and see people and everything like that. I think you had the same thing, right, Ducato?
Yep. Yeah,
At
I
like
took that
6,
middle session
yeah, in
off.
the middle of the day, yeah. Because prior to that, I was booked for like 18 hours worth of play of commute and gaming, and I was like, oh wait, hold on a second here. How the hell am I going to pull that off? Because I'm going to leave my house around like 6 a.m. It takes about 2 hours and 45 minutes to get there. And then my first game is at 10, so I was like, so I'll be going from like 6 a.m. to, 11 o'clock the
Oof.
first night, the first day nonstop. And I was like, I can't do that.
No, I can do like two sessions a day. I've done 3, and the third one is just,
Yeah.
it's more of an endurance run. Like my brain is pretty much mush, so I'm like, I'm just gonna take the middle session off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did. I was like, there's no way I could do a middle session. Even if I were just going for one day, I still wouldn't do.
No, I wouldn't either. I would still do only
Yeah.
2.
I
only
almost
do-
made that mistake the first time I went to ShireCon. I
Mhm.
was going to do all the games, and luckily I wasn't signed up for anything. First time I went was just a walk-in,
Yeah.
but I lucked out because went to lunch, and the lunch place there was not set to handle that many people, so I missed the middle session, and excuse me. After that, I realized that was a good thing, because I got the morning session and the evening session, and so that was enough gaming for.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's nice to be able to like unwind and everything, especially if it's
Yeah.
like an overnight thing anyway. And then
Right.
I would usually do a morning session and then leave at midday on the Sunday, or, like I said earlier on, if you were here, I'm probably not going to do that with, this upcoming weekend because it is Father's Day. And, I want to see, I was hoping it would, like the events weren't starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's kind of late. I wish they were starting at like 9. Then I'd be like, all right, that's no problem. I'll be home by 2. But if it's going to run from like 10 to 2, then I'm not getting home until like 5, and it's like,
Yeah.
nah, that's just too much on the second day of the con. So yeah, I'm going to try to.
I wish he had it doesn't affect me because I took the middle session off, but I wish it was like ShireCon, they had that hour window between sessions, which was
Yeah.
nice because you could go grab some food, shoot the breeze with
Right.
people and visit the vendors.
Or,
And if you did,
or check into your room. It's like,
yeah,
it's another thing I'll be doing is checking into the room, around mid part of the day. I don't know what time they let us check in.
I'm coming in. I'm actually getting there. My cousin and I are coming out. I'm getting there on Friday.
Friday, yeah. I was thinking of that, but I was like, yeah, there's, thankfully I didn't set up for that. Initially I did, but now I'm glad I didn't because we have so much going on in the house that I couldn't give up that Friday. So I'm glad I didn't do that along these, this time around.
Yeah, it's around
This
a
year I'll
6-hour
be gone.
drive for us.
Say again, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say this year I'll be going for the full day Friday and Saturday.
All right, so yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll be there all day, obviously all day Saturday, and I'm hoping that it starts a little bit earlier than 10 o'clock. Otherwise I'm going to give up my seat at Joseph Block's table, and and then I'll just catch his game at ShireCon. Let's see. Oh, good. So you reset it. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm going to try to do these Sundays. Like, so I'm supposed to be playing in a play test for for Gangbusters BX, the advanced version of it, or expert. I think Mark Hunt is calling that, and but he's down in North Texas GameCon right now, so they're like, all right, we're not going to be play testing it this weekend. So yeah, I'll look forward to doing that. I don't know if I'll be able to catch that next weekend or not. It might be a couple weeks before I get into that. But yeah, I wanted to play that game as well. So yeah, on a con, it's hard to get both days in fully. All right, so let's see.
I think ShireCon I got. Yeah, I got 2 games in each day. I played 2 games on Sunday, but it was a shorter drive too. So
Yeah. So Eric Tenkar will be at the Central New York Gaming Convention. He will be there. I will be there. Dakota will be there. Mike will be there.
I won't be at Central New York.
Oh, you're going to be at ShireCon.
I'll be at ShireCon.
All right, so ShireCon. Who else is going to be there? Diversity and Dragons is going to be there. If you follow his channel at all, who else is going to be there?
Greg Gillespie's going to be
Greg Gillespie. Oh, yeah. So as far as game creators are concerned, Greg Gillespie, Joseph Block will be there from Greyhawk Grognard, plus Adventures Dark and Deep, which I have to get back to talking about that game system again too. I have too many games and not enough time to actually cover everything.
Go
ahead.
Bestiary for his game is awesome.
That what?
The bestiary for Adventures Dark.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That thing is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I use that more than almost even in my CNC game. I use that more than any other book. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, I just picked up I just got them at around the same time that Page, Philadelphia Game Area Expo was running, and so I got them like shortly before then or shortly after. I forget what time frame it was, but I got them, and I got to get back to covering that as well.
That's a good book.
Yeah. So maybe I'll use that for my AD&D first edition.
Easily.
Yeah, easy.
Like I said, I use it in CNC all the time.
Yeah, good seeing you too, Swords and Stones. All right, thanks a lot, Curry, for coming on in. 2 4-hour con sessions is plenty per day. I'm 59. Yep. Yeah, well, I'm 58, and when I'm 54. I guess I was like 56. So 2 years ago at Rising Phoenix, I ran over 2 days. I ran 5 game sessions and 5 different game systems. No, I'm sorry, it was over 2.5. 2.5. So it was a Thursday night game session, and then I ran 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. No, I'm sorry, it was 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and then 1 game session I sat in for because I also played in 3 on Sunday morning, and I was done. I was totally destroyed. Just vocally, I couldn't talk anymore. Mentally, I was just like 5 game systems, 5 very different game systems. I was like, holy shit, this was. I was like, I will never make that mistake again. I mean, I said that for like 6 months. I was like, no, I had a great time. It was awesome. I will never make that mistake again. Let me see if I remember everything I ran. So I ran Shadow Dark. I ran Blade Runner. I ran Shadow Dark, Blade Runner. I'm going to forget everything I ran. Conan 2D20, Gangbusters, and a 5th game, which I'm not going to remember. What was the fifth game? I don't know. I don't remember now what the fifth game. The fifth game was Weird Frontiers. All right, so that was the fifth one. So all of them dramatically different systems,
Wow.
compared to them. I was like, holy cow, it's like, but that was brutal. Oh yeah, no problem with promoing everything. I am always looking forward to uh, just doing promotions for Castles and Crusades, for Troll Lord games in general, um, and any of their stuff, including their other stuff, like their dice bags and their just their other tchotchkes. I mean, you see that little light behind me, that Castles and Crusades light. Actually, it's over there. I can't work my fingers. It's right there. I asked them that they're working on their dice bags and their dice sets again. I guess they're looking for a new vendor, a new place to manufacture them. I guess with tariffs and all that kind of stuff, or just different vendors. Now they are obviously everything from Castles and Crusades and Amazing Adventures are all printed in the United States and in their own printing, which is another thing that they just started to expand. They're getting ready to do the groundbreaking on a 4,000 square foot printing location, whatever you call it. I don't think you call it a factory, but it is kind of like a factory space printing, so that they can make their own, both their own hardcovers and their own boxes, I believe. So that will, completely bring them into their own production of their own books and everything, from start to finish. So that's going to be awesome for them and for others as well, because they have opened up. Once they're fully operational, they have opened up to say, hey, if you're still struggling to get your stuff published, reach out to us, or we'll come up with a way to help you out if you need to. So I'm hoping they get some of the other things in line, that they can produce here in the States and everything. I've been going crazy trying to find things that are, so I know how difficult it is, to find stuff that's made in the United States. I've been, trying to avoid stuff, particularly, it's a printing and publishing plant. Yes. I was trying to think of, what do you call it? Is it really called a plant? I don't know. I know it's not a factory, but yeah. Yeah, I guess it is a plant, printing and publishing plant. So anyway, I had a different U.S. Army veteran hat, right? So, this was like my kind of mainstay anytime I was recording, and I threw my hat on, and eventually it kind of fell apart. So I was like, all right, I want to try to find one that's made in the United States. You cannot find them, So if anybody knows of, U.S. Army veteran, any kind of thing, or U.S. Army hats or shirts or whatever that are actually made in the United States, reach out to me. Throw it in the comments section, because I've been having the darndest time finding anything. So this is the official licensed one, and it says designed in the USA. All right, which I was like, all right, that's kind of questionable. So then I flipped it over, and I was like, all right, so it's made in PRC. So I guess they don't want to say China, so they say PRC, which is the
if you don't know it.
So I was like, all right, so it's now Castles and Crusade shirts are made in Honduras, so I don't think it's going to be as much of an issue. Because I checked that too. I was like, and where do they make these things? So I guess it's unavoidable with certain things, at least in the time being. So hopefully there's a little bit of an expansion, and like I'd be willing to pay twice as much, if it were made in the USA. I don't mind supporting, made in the USA, or supporting, supporting union shops. If that, I'll pay 3 times as much if it's supporting a union shop. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't mind, so, yeah. So if anybody knows where I can get that kind of stuff, let me know. And I will certainly look it out. I was seeing like one company, they were making hats and they're here in New York. I was like, cool. Let me see. And I was like, most of our products are made overseas and most of them are made in China. I was like, then why do you call yourself a New York company? It's like, so you're just like a distributor of them more so than you are. I forget what that was called, like Rothko or something like that.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Right. Yeah. Rothko, they're a big company and everything. I was like, oh, we're from upstate New York. And I was like, oh, cool. I could support my, buy local. It's not local. I was like, well, crap, which is another reason why I like OSR, because OSR, most of it is print on demand, and all print on demand is US based, and usually not too far out. A lot of times I get stuff from like Maryland, which is not too far out. I just got Venture Satanis's Kickstarter here, and so this is play like a fucking boss, all right, and part of his like a fucking boss series, so GM and whatnot, and this is printed, I think in Michigan. So I was looking, I was like double check, but I think almost all stuff is, Illinois. So this one is made in the USA, Moni, Illinois. So most print on demand stuff is going to be the United States, for the most part. So OSR is mostly print on demand, so that's a benefit to that.
Because they're not big enough runs for these places to deal with it.
Yeah. It's like they don't make it. Should be required. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there was a big thing to do, right? When they were making the berets for the U.S. Army issue, and they were made in China, and they had to, they stopped doing that, because the U.S. uniforms shouldn't be made in China, or components of uniforms shouldn't be made in China. And so, that was a big thing when they were converting over to berets, from the caps that were before that. So, yeah, it's hard to find stuff though. Yeah, it's been taking a really good care of my U.S. Army veteran hat. I use it primarily because, especially when I'm going through customs, like we go to the Bahamas often for vacations. And I've gotten through the line in customs a lot faster, on the U.S. side, a lot faster, just less, inconvenience and everything like that. So it's helpful there. Hasn't really helped me too much with, I don't get pulled over that often. It's been a long time, but it's helped there on like 1 or 2 occasions as well. But anyway. It's I wish I could. I still keep my original green beret, my original patrol cap, and my dress berets. I have my original. They weren't called berets, but I do have my original dress uniform cap, but nothing, and jacket. I don't think I still have the pants. There's no way. There's no way I can fit in those pants. Anyway, it's like 32 waist. Holy shit! I was like, no, that ain't happening. I'll be lucky to get into 44 waist. So let's see. Those were at least made in America. Yes. Yeah, they're at least made. They're required now to be made in the United States. Oh, Flint. Hey, how's it going, Flint? And so here we go. Let me do some giveaways here. So let's do, because I haven't done this for this. Let's find the tool. Why can't I see the tool? Did they change this? Oh no, there it is. There it is. All right, so there goes five. There goes five free memberships.
Nice.
So let's see who gets it. Ultra American, Coco B, B Skag, and Paul. Congratulations. And Wayne. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, it split it. I guess Agile was jumping in there. So that kind of jumped in there. Cool. Yeah, so welcome, Paul. And again, with those memberships, whether they're free or you back it, as a member on the channel, jump into my Discord. Let me know that you are a member. I will give you the member role, and that will allow you to jump in on any of my games if you want to, play on a regular basis. If we have room, you're certainly welcome to do so. If you want to set up with me where you'll play an NPC during a particular adventure, and you're available during any of those times, you're welcome to do that as well. Or if you want me to run something with you as just a one-on-one, GM plus one kind of situation, I'm going to be opening that up for people, provided that you can be available in the Eastern time zone in the mornings, like between 10 and 12. So for like short little 2-hour sessions. So like if you want to play Star Wars WEG, you've never played it before, but you're interested in it, I can run something like that for you as like a 1-shot, 2-shot, 3-shot, and then move on to another system if you want to or whatnot. That way I can open it up to a lot more people just by doing short little boom, boom, 1-shot, 2-hour game sessions. Like I said, we could do multiple if that's what it takes, but you're certainly welcome to do so. And same thing for you, Mike and Ducato. Anytime you want to jump in on my Discord and you say, hey, you know what, I've played with you at cons and everything like that, you're welcome to join in any of those things as well. My schedule is pretty much open, especially for like short little spurts like that, and especially during the mornings when my wife and kids are at work and I'm home waiting to go to work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's when I'm mostly free. In the summertime, it's going to be a little bit different because everybody's home. So it's like
Right.
my honey-do list might be bigger than normal. All right, so let's see. So you're just so Flint, you went to yeah. It's just so far for me to get out, to that far and everything. I'm pretty much East Coast bound for trips, and within 4 hours is kind of like my maximum. I would love to get out to a con like that because that seems to be like the size of con that I like as well. Anything like North Texas, I don't think is probably more than 600 people. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody that's been there. But I think it's probably around like 600-ish or so. Yeah, I'd love to go. I just don't, it's just not in my cards to go out there. Let's see. Excellent. How did you like it? Yeah. I'm hoping to see. Let's see. So my second year, and it was better than the first video recap coming tomorrow. Cool. I'll definitely check that out before I go to work and see. Yeah, I'll be doing a video recap of OttoCon from yesterday as well. If I can squeeze it in, I do leave for work early tomorrow at 11 a.m. So caps at 500 register, but does 100 and walk in. So we're around 600. That's what I was, and that's kind of a good size. I like that size. That's the size of Rising Phoenix. in Massachusetts as well. That's about 500-600 people. So that's, that to me is a good size. I'm not as comfortable with it being much larger than that. And I know Page was like 1,800 or so. And that was a lot of fun and everything, but I had the flu for 10 days afterwards. So it's like, it's like, wow, that really, really put a damper on, not for me so much, but my family was pissed. My wife was like really pissed off. It was like, you're coming home and now you're sick for 10 days, that you couldn't even go to work, that first week back and everything. So I was like, yeah, that's not, it certainly wasn't worth it in that sense. Let's see what else. So I am going to start to talk about some of the things coming up on the channel that I will continue covering. So like I said, so Venture Satanis's Play Like a Fucking Boss. And it also came with Fairy Dust, which I'm not quite sure what that is. There was another PDF attached to the overall thing, so I'll be checking that out. I am going to, now you're going to see a short video tomorrow of Tenebria. All right, so this is going to be in a short, and if people want me to go into it, so I originally backed this quite a long time ago. All right, and it's from Wet Ink Games, and it's an RPG set in the during like the fall of Rome. All right. So I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. I've never seen that before. Wet Ink Games does a very good system. So they use a D6 system that is called the +1 system by Wet Ink Games. And so it's the same as what was used for Never Going Home. All right, which was a World War I post-apocalyptic, like zombie apocalypse kind of, weird eldritch horror World War I. So they seem to do pretty well with these like alternate history kind of things. So I'm going to do a short for this tomorrow. It's part of my shelf tour. And then I will dig into this a little bit further, because I think the only time I ever spoke about it was when I got it in the Kickstarter. I don't think I actually covered the game. I'll be covering Shadow Rim. All right, so starting to break down and going to this. So I was like, hey, Skyrim and Shadow Dark, two of my favorite games. So let's see how they handled that. And this is put out by Greg Christopher, which has a different YouTube name. I always forget his YouTube name.
Chubby
Funster.
Chubby Funster. Yeah, Chubby Funster. So, I have that. Then I will be getting back to my coverage of Dangerous Journeys. And so start talking about some of the game mechanics of this. And there's a pretty active community for this on Facebook, so those guys are great. And I'll see if I have, hopefully I'll get Dave Newton to come on the channel and he'll talk about this, because he was a co-author along with Gary Gygax for this system. So he's, kind of a living expert on it. And so we'll see, what his, fingerprints are on the Mythos system and Dangerous Journeys in particular. Then I will get back to Daggerheart, and then also Dragonbane. So I have quite a few systems that I just started busting out and covering different things and everything. I'm kind of scattered all over the place with stuff. It's like, so it's kind of hard. You'll find a lot of variety on here, but very, very few games do I cover to the same extent like Castles and Crusades, like 95 videos on there. And I try to do them a little bit longer form, and that way you're getting a good like 30 minutes or 40 minutes of coverage on something, just doing a read through, or just focusing in on some key elements of a game system. And then it might be a couple weeks before I get back to it again, so I'd rather do it that way than give you, a 5-minute video where I'm barely talking about the topic, and, or not really going into any detail as to why I like something, why I don't like something, or what is good about it, what is bad about it, system wise or whatnot. I'd rather do 30 minutes in a shot and then, be a couple weeks before I get back to it again. So, but all of that is driven by, comments in the comments section too. So it's like, hey, if someone tells me, hey, can you take a closer look at this particular aspect of a game system, then I will definitely do that, probably in pretty short order. Yeah, I know it's a great system. It is, and it might be easier to get them into, for D&D players. Yeah, I think a lot of that's one of the more positive things that I've seen over these last, 12 to 18 months is a lot of people are more open to trying new systems now. The benefits of, basically the terrible marketing of, 2024, 2025 D&D, the OGL in 2023, and the other stuff that they had done along the way. I think a lot more people are looking to move on to other systems, and so it's great to see, things like Shadow Dark kind of blowing up. I'm going to be curious to see what, if we see Daggerheart at any of the conventions that we are going to in the next, I don't expect to see Daggerheart being played at Central New York. Doubt it.
No.
Too soon, number one. And number two, I just doubt it. I doubt we'll see it at ShireCon. It'll be interesting to see if it is, but I think too small of a con and too OSR focused. Even though Daggerheart is a independent game system, it's not a D&D clone.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so I don't expect to see it there. Could we see it at Rising Phoenix in 2026? Possibly. There, I think we might see it there because that's going to be that's a 600 plus con. Almost definitely be at page 3. So that's in January. So almost definitely see it there. I'd be surprised if it's not being run there. But that's a big con. That's 2,000 people convention. So I would expect to see it there. But that's something I'll comment on. I can look that up. What's that, Dakota?
I said it's a pretty interesting game. I played it once so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. I know I had some people saying, "Oh, it's total trash" and everything like that. It's like all of the stuff that is in there that you might find questionable if you're, of the same bent of mind that I typically am too.
Yep.
Like I seen like some people like, "Oh, there's combat wheelchairs in there. Don't put them in. Don't use them." It's like, just don't use them. If you're that much against them, just don't use them. It's simple. Oh, there's pronouns here and there and everything. Just don't use them. Tell me what your character's name is. That's all I need to know. You know what I'm saying? I'll refer to you by your character's name. So all that kind of stuff that they're, going, crazy about there, or even if there's too many female characters in it, and you're seeing an overrepresentation of female characters across the thing. Who cares what the art is? I look at the mechanics, of it. And I have people from the other side of the spectrum as well. It's like, why would you run this game? Look at what the author says. I was like, I don't give a shit what the author says. If the game system is good, I'm going to say the game system is good.
I got a chance to play it at my local game store, And I went into it, I was pretty skeptical about the system and, all that. And I mean, I found it interesting enough that I turned around and bought one of the 2 remaining copies of the game that they had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, like you said, my group would never use combat wheelchairs because they think they're silly.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't use it. We don't use pronouns because we're old and we think that's silly too. So, so we wouldn't use that stuff. But as a system, I thought it was pretty interesting. And I see a lot of people ragging on the system, and I guarantee most of them haven't played it. And I'm not saying that win them over, but they haven't played it. And
or read it.
It's not so clunky. It's not overly. I don't learn new systems very quickly, and I'm not an expert in Daggerheart, but I didn't find it so clunky. I didn't find it clunky at all. Actually, the card, which I was skeptical about because I'm not a card person. I don't play card games, stuff like that. The cards are awesome because I never had to open a book the whole time because all my character had a character sheet and my cards. That's all I needed. It was great.
And you only need 5 cards for a first level character.
Yeah, you don't have a lot.
I was like, well, why is this? Because at least one YouTuber out there was like, oh, it's too crunchy. It's blah blah. At least initially. That's what he was saying. It was like, oh, there's more crunch than 5e. I was like, no, it's not.
No, there isn't.
It was like, not at first level.
Nope.
There certainly isn't.
You can only have a certain amount of cards, regardless of your level. What you do, though, is you'll end up building little mini decks, and you can you set your cards for, I guess, the game day, but then you rest. I think you can pull new ones. I think one of the neat things about it is the way it's designed is it scratches a couple different inches probably for people. You have the narrative role play style. You can have it has enough crunch where it has crunch for people that are into that. And then you have the card people that, play card games, Magic and all Pokemon, all that stuff. It could draw them in. And then even the board game people, because you're using the tokens for hope and fear, and you could stretch that further because you have hit points and stress. You could use tokens to track that. Which none of that was slow. I actually thought the hope and fear mechanic was actually kind of fun because it added a little bit of tension to every roll. And if you start giving your game master fear and he's building up his token collection, oh crap, and the other thing that was nice about it was I don't think it's not great like any game. It's not great for all tables. If you have a table that's barely controlled chaos, with the players, or in a really big group, probably not the best game, I don't think. But if you have a smaller group and they're all really switched on, because I've seen people complain about, oh, there's no initiative, and it's all the narrative control. If the players are rolling and getting hope, they have control of the narrative, so they can keep it going. But as soon as the game master gets a fear thing, he can start interjecting and changing things up. So as a player, you got to pay attention, because you're not going to know in 3, after these 2 guys go, it's my turn. No, you need to pay attention, because there might be something that happens, and then you can interject and insert your character. I thought it was interesting. Like I said, it was interesting enough that I bought it. So, and I consider myself a old school gamer, but I also don't think, and I've seen a lot of guys online complaining, not every game has to be a clone of AD&D or D&D. I don't want every game to be that way. I love AD&D, but in old school games, but not all of them have to be that way. I don't know. I tried it and I liked it enough to buy it. So
yeah, it's definitely not more crunch than 5e.
No, absolutely not. I watched their Age of Umbra stream that Critical Role did, and I watched the entire first season of Critical Role. I was a fan of that season. It was a really good season. I haven't liked anything they've done since, but I liked that season. And watching it, their combat was way smoother than even now. In campaign 3, there's times
wait there. Well, the first season was Pathfinder.
No, it was 5th edition.
Yeah.
I thought the first season was Pathfinder.
No,
that was before they started streaming.
They started their home campaign started off as Pathfinder, and then when they went to Geek and Sundry, they knew that Pathfinder 1E it's a crunchy game, and they thought because 5E is a bit more streamlined than Pathfinder that it would be a better streamed game, and they're probably right. So they switched to 5th edition, and they converted some stuff like because they had classes that were specific to Pathfinder.
Correct.
Like
Yeah, and races like the Goliath was not in.
But
5e
no,
yet.
they did 5th edition for the first campaign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I never watched. I never watched it. I was not like, I can't sit there, and I tried watching The Age of Umbra a little bit too, and I was like, all right, I watched like maybe 40 minutes or so of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just get bored watching other, like I could never sit there and watch 3 hours of somebody else playing. I was like,
I used to
3
be
hours
able
I could run
to-
something. It's like, but it is interesting to watch how they, I tried watching like Candela Obscura and kind of the same issue. It's like, I kind of like that theme, and that setting, and whatnot. But yeah, I just don't like watching other people play.
Yeah, I got to play. I played that too.
Yeah.
My Friday night group. Oh well, so here's a comparison. I played one session of Daggerheart and found it interesting enough to purchase a copy. I played 4 sessions of Candela Obscura. It was an awesome game because we had an awesome game master, but that rule system didn't do anything for me, and I never picked it up. You could do the same game with Free League's Vaesen or Call of Cthulhu. It didn't click with me at all, but I thought, like I said, Daggerheart was interesting enough to make it, give it a look and have it in my collection.
Yeah.
I picked up a copy of Daggerheart just because I wasn't originally intending to do it, but
no, me either.
No, it's kind of interested, and it was in my local game store.
Yep, mine.
And I felt like I've been asking them a little bit, about having other games besides D&D or Pathfinder, and so I felt like, okay, I want to support this a little bit. Just the idea of having other games.
Yeah. I'm lucky with my local game store because they're really good about a very broad selection of games, and I'm also the owner of it's a really good friend of mine, so I luck out in that regard.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it on its launch day, like on the 20th, and I had it in hand on the 29th. I was like, just took 9 days from order to delivery. 9 days. I was like, all right, that's not a problem at all.
Yep. Now it's a problem because it sold out in like 4 days. So
yeah. So it's like,
did well.
And but I'm glad I got it. I mean, the quality of everything is incredible.
Yeah, it's. I mean people may not like some of the content, but there's no way they can disparage the quality of it because
just a book that size.
Alone.
If you flip to like flip to like 100, like page 180, and the thing still lays pretty much flat for a big hardback that still opens up flat like that. I'm like, that's really impressive, and you can tell that quality is going to hold up for a while. And then, like you said, like the cards are top notch. I even like the way that they have them put in the case.
Yeah.
The only thing I had with that was like they don't have them divvied up like the right way where you could put all of your ancestry and your in one bucket, because there's too few of those, and then the other ones there's too many of those. They could have evened it out, a little bit. Maybe one less class or something like that would have been a benefit there as well, or one less, something. Yeah,
I agree. It would make the organization just a little better.
Where you could actually lay it out like a like a thing. I used to have this thing that I used for Pathfinders, their card thing. I had like the Skull and Bones, like that.
Oh yeah.
And it had this huge layout that I put onto a big like poster board, where you put all of the decks on the thing laid out there, so you could really organize the whole gameplay out. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. I haven't even opened up half the packs in that thing. I have like like an unused set with like the first 7 different expansion packs in
Oh,
that
wow.
whole case, and never used it. It was like, I thought I was going to play it solo and everything, and I was like, no, it's so much to unpack for a solo game. I was like, no, I'm not going to do all of that work for a
Much like
solo
work.
game.
I think too with like Daggerheart, like they nailed like the price point of it. I mean, it's $60. Like the book alone is, and then the cards, it's like that. It's not. I mean, our mutual friend there did a series of videos about how they should have basically sold the cards separate and charged everybody extra for them. Like, well, there's this thing called barrier to entry. So, they did it. It sold out in 4 days. I think they nailed it pretty well.
They nailed it pretty well. Oh, but that'll be like, and to that person, it'll be bad marketing. Like they don't understand how to market anything because they have no capacity, right? That's not having capacity. Selling out is a bad thing. If you don't sell out enough, that's a bad thing. It's like
his series.
Now he praises it up and down.
He went on about how at first he hated it because he couldn't get it. He couldn't get a physical copy, and then but he's going on about I got the best gaming stores and blah blah blah. And then he's like, oh well, yeah, one of them is it's a comic book store and they have a 10x10 area for role playing games. I'm like, that's not the best. I'm in fucking East Bumfuck, Maine, and I was able to walk into my gaming store and buy it. So I'm like, your gaming store sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's not a gaming store, it's a comic book store.
Well, actually, that's what I put in there. I was like, if you still can't get something, then they're not a great gaming store.
No.
It's like it's not like, if they were unaware of it, then they're not a gaming store. They're a comic book store.
Yeah, and that's what he said. Like one of them had never even heard of it. That one.
Yeah, it was like then that's not a gaming store.
Yeah, that's not a good gaming store. That's trash for gaming. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm hoping I have a Thursday night group and it's real small. There's only 4 of us, so we do like different games.
Different games, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm running I just started running Dragonbane for them, so it'll probably last 4 to 6 sessions, and then we'll switch to something else. We just played through Free League's Mutineer Zero. We're gonna end up doing some DCC, so I'm hoping that's gonna be a great system for us in that regard, because then I also have Weird Frontiers and Mutant Crawl Classics. So we're going to be able to. My friend got. I gave him a collection of Lankmar novels for its library, and he's been reading them. And he's like, "Hey, these are awesome!" So he went over and bought the box set that DCC did for Lankmar. So he wants to run that. So I want to play that. And he just got the core book and stuff for his birthday. So we'll do some DCC, which I'm looking forward to. I get to play that at ShireCon for the first time ever. It was fun.
I got a lot of stuff that I have to bring to ShireCon for either their auction or their donations or whatever, because I just have so many books that I have this huge box now just loaded with stuff that I'd like to either sell or just give away or whatever. But like the first edition Adventures Dark and Deep. I have the second edition now. I'll probably get rid of my other printings of Castles and Crusades, because I just got the Reforged, and I will make that transition to Reforged complete. Because I'm all about shelf space, limited shelf space, so it's like, it's like I really don't need all this extra stuff. I will probably get rid of my D&D 3rd edition because I have 3.5, and it's just the core books. So I'll get rid of, the one to the other. I've decided I'll keep my 4th edition, so I have everything but 5th edition. I gave all of my 5th edition stuff to my niece, because she happened to be running it, and nobody in her group actually had the books. Typical college kids. They were, one person had a copy and they just photocopied it, and just handed out just the pieces that they needed. And she was like, "Oh no, nobody actually owns this." She said they played it all over her college, but nobody actually owns the books. She was like, everybody's just flying around with these, these photocopied copies of it. I was like, yeah, that's the, that's what I hear a lot back then. It
I
was
have
like,
a
yeah,
few.
nobody actually owns the books.
I have a few Watsy fifth edition. Not I threw my player's handbook away because it was literally falling apart. I was like in 3 different pieces, so I just chucked it. The only book I was just talking about this tonight with my son. The only book of theirs that I would keep in my library is the original printing of Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
That book was pretty good because they covered like beholders, mind flayers, giants, hags, and they had really good write-ups on them and
Yeah.
to really flesh out how to play those
Right.
monsters. Then they went back and reprinted it because they had to change some stuff because people on Twitter's fifis were hurt. So I don't have that copy.
Yeah.
I have the original copy.
Yeah.
But the rest of them I don't have any really use for. The DM's Guide. I mean, I have the Castle Crusades, Castle Keeper's Guide, which is a far better book, and the old AD&D DM's Guide's a far better book. I mean, it's not organized great, but it has way more information.
Plenty more useful stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I rarely ever use. I mean, I DM 5th edition a lot. I rarely ever use the DM's Guide just for magic items, and even then, I mean, towards the end of my campaigns, I was going to other sources because I was just kind of bored with what was in that book. So,
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. No, I don't. None of that stuff's on my shelf.
Yeah.
I don't have enough room.
Yeah, none of their stuff is on my shelf. The only thing I had was the 3.5 because I was going to start doing a series with the 3.5. And I was like, because so many OSR games are built around 3.5.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the only reason why I still had it,
Yeah.
And,
I have some 3.5 stuff like as reference material, like some of the good books that they did, like the Draconomicon and there's one that's all about aberrations. That's really good.
Lords of Madness, I think it's
called. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's a really good book. There's Exemplars of Evil. I got that, which just has a bunch of big bads in it that you could port into any game.
Yeah.
So a lot of those older ones, there was some, and I have some Forgotten Realms stuff because I was playing in Forgotten Realms campaign. So, and the 3.5 WotC Forgotten Realms stuff was actually pretty good. Like their original campaign guide was 1,000 times better than the piece of crap they put out in 5th edition. That thing was hot garbage. Like, but the 3 one or 3.5 one is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And I've had those because I've played in different campaigns set in the realm. So as a player, so I kept those in my collection. But
the Troll Lord actually came out and they said that they're going to redo their Mythos books and make them more game centric than historical centric.
Yeah.
So
I think Chuck or Steve talking about that.
Yeah, just the other day. So I don't know if I'm going to replace everything though, because I don't mind the history parts of it. And
no, once you get used to it, I mean, I bought the first one I ever got was the Celtic one, and I actually used that in my current campaign in my homebrew setting. But it was like I was kind of shocked when I first got it because I'm like, holy crap, this is like a history book. Like this isn't.
Well, that's because they're a
game book. It's a history.
They're all
book.
History people. You know what I'm saying? They're all history majors, or
it took them
PhD.
I think it took them 10 years to write that book because it was so much research, and I mean it's way more.
They're a little bit overly researched, yes. For a game supplement, it's like we're gonna make them more game centric. Well then combine them into several books. Like don't have a different book for every culture.
Do one big book and
make one big book or 2 or 3 big books. Do regions of the world kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So do European, Asian, African, South American, or just the Americas kind of thing, and leave it at that. Do 4 larger books or 5 larger books.
Yep, I agree.
And you can get away with that.
We didn't switch to the Reforged. I have the Reforged Monsters and Treasures book, which I think they did a pretty good job with. I like that there's more art there's art for all the monsters. Right. And the art is like I was looking at it today. The section on dragons was whoa, man, the art and that's great. And
Yeah.
I liked actually, even though I like Fey stuff and I use it in my game, I like that they took like that huge chunk of Fey that was in the middle of the original Monsters of Treasures
Right.
out.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't need all that. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to have, but like, I think they plan on maybe doing another book for that down the line. But
Well, yeah, I backed. Well, when I backed the, backed the new Adventurers backpack. I was like, all right, I already had the PDFs for Reforged, so I was like, all right, so for $100, I'll get the other 3 books, in
yeah,
hardcover. So
I
that'll be
did. I didn't like some of the stuff that they did, and also my players most of them had already bought players handbooks and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to ask them to buy because there are differences. So I'm like, I'm not going to ask them. I don't
Yeah.
want to have a different book than they have, and I'm not going to ask them to
Right.
buy a new book. So I was like,
I wasn't a big fan of this changing the spells
no.
and removing the stat blocks. But then when I'm reading through them and everything like that, I was all right. They highlight everything, all the same information, so it just takes a little bit longer. But if they come out with the card decks anyway, then
Yeah,
the card deck's going to replace that whole thing anyhow. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Just come out. I've been saying it every time they're on a stream. I was like, spell cards, spell cards, spell cards. I said, I will buy 2 sets of every single spell card that you put out there, just so I have one and then my players can have one or whatnot. And yeah, you have to put out the spell cards.
I would
Because
rather
they're
see
going to
stuff like that than.
I mean, just look at Daggerheart and how useful those cards are. Then imagine something with the number of spells that Castles and Crusades has, or any D&D based game would have, and those spell cards just make it so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they would do like something like that over like redoing an existing book. Honestly, like a new product. Give me something that I can be. I already have the Adventurers backpack. We don't use any of those classes because I don't really. That's not what I want in my game. So, but we use the backpacks. Everybody likes the backpacks, and I'm using it. And I have the card. I have the card deck for the backpack.
Yeah.
That works great because I can just hand it to somebody and be like, "Use this." Like they don't have to set it up. I would rather see them do more stuff like that. That like all new product that makes my life as a game master easier.
Easier, right?
I would like to see that.
All right, I am going. Yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Reminds me of some of the old Glorantha books. Very dense, makes getting into RuneQuest difficult. Yeah.
Never looked at RuneQuest.
Yeah. I actually have that RuneQuest box set. I still haven't touched that yet either. It's like
I should look at it because from what I've read, supposedly like original Dragonbane was back in Sweden was built like out of RuneQuest basically. I don't know if that's true or not, but I love Dragonbane.
Yeah.
My favorite game.
I think it's more directly from Magic World, which was
oh really?
Which kind of from Stormbringer, but also in the same Chaosium vein. Yeah, I think they came up with the basic role playing system after RuneQuest. I'm not entirely sure.
I like Dragonbane a lot,
but
I have to get back to covering that.
Through those, and I'm really digging Dragonbane.
Yep, I played it a lot last year, probably 30 plus sessions, and then I'm still playing in a monthly game with it, and then like I said, I just started last Thursday running an adventure. I hope it kind of sticks because I'd like to, when it comes back to my turn to run, I'd like to keep running it like for a while. So we'll see if it sticks with the guys. Some of the guys they've all played it before, so but not as much as I had. So hopefully they'll like it. So far, so good.
Unfortunately for me, D&D, the only setting I like is Greyhawk. I've never been a Forgotten Realms person. Wasn't my time frame anyway. So
I've played a lot. When I DM'd like like AD, it was always Greyhawk. I think I've run one game set in the realms, and then but everything else was Greyhawk.
Yeah, yeah, I don't prefer any, even when I run, D&D basic, or Homes Edition or whatever, I still set it in Greyhawk. I just, to me, D&D is Greyhawk. I was not a second edition person at the time. And so Forgotten Realms, I've tried even like doing the audiobooks for the Forgotten Realms. Like I got like maybe the first one, I forget what Calamar or something like that. And just couldn't get into it. It was like even the audiobook was like too packed with too much information.
Mhm.
It was like it's like you're listening to an info dump. It's like
Yeah.
it's not that, and that's how I look at Forgotten Realms when I look at, some of the source books, like materials from like PDFs and stuff. I'm like, oh, this is just way, way too packed. We're just
I like old Forgotten Realms more, like, because I my favorite video game is original Baldur's Gate, so
yeah.
I played the living hell out of that game, and I love that era and that time frame. If I was going to run a Forgotten Realms game, I would probably, I have this, I think I have it, I do have it. Ed Greenwood, at one stage, I don't know if they were getting ready to switch editions, and they asked him to basically write a book, his version of the realms. So I have that. I got it off drive-through years ago. I would probably run like that. I would ignore a lot of stuff that's happened since, what stuff Watts has done to it. But I like that. I mean, I'm such a fan of Baldur's Gate, so the original game, that I do like the realms, but I still, like I said, when I ran AD&D, it was always Greyhawk.
Yeah. To me, Ravenloft is a module, not a setting. That's just me. It's like it's not a setting. It's just a very singular adventure that you run, especially if you want to kill off a lot of your player characters. Yeah. Yeah, that was the one where, my character lost like 4 levels in that adventure. It's like still survived, but lost like 4 levels in it.
Yeah, it can be pretty. We just played a second edition second edition Ravenloft module. I don't remember the name of it, but we used Castles and Crusades for our system. It was fairly punishing. Like we survived. Actually, that's not true. We did have a player death. We did have a player character death. But we almost had a lot more than that. It was pretty tough. And it was a low level adventure. I think it was like a 1 through 3 level adventure. And we definitely weren't like running around like superheroes. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining. I'm going to wrap this up, and
thank you.
So Mike, thanks for popping in, and I look forward to seeing you again in person at ShireCon in September. Ducato, I'll see you next weekend.
Yep.
So that'll be cool. I think we're playing in one game session together, or
I'm playing in your. I know I'm playing in your Fallout game.
All right, the Fallout game. Yeah.
I signed up for that.
So. Yeah,
so I want to play that because I never played it. So
I still have some tweaking to do on that adventure. So it's like, so I got to get that thing fully ready to run and everything. I'm probably not running anything this week, just so I can spend some extra time tweaking that and getting that ready to roll out. So
it's coming up.
Yep, it's coming up. So it's like I've done this adventure once with my own group, and there's just some tweaking I want to do with it to make it more convention ready. So I will get around to doing that as well.
Yeah,
my
cousin and I are playing in that game. And
no, it should be exciting. It should be fun, a fun little thing there, and I have to see how I'm going to display the map. That's the biggest thing, is like getting the maps out there, or maybe I might just go theater of the mind. I could also try to try to do like what I did with Mike's group for Shards of Ymir was I uploaded all of the images onto my iPad, and
Yep.
that's how I displayed the images instead of the index cards.
Oh, nice.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that worked out pretty good rather than just having the index cards on the table. And I could probably do that with the, with that adventure for that way I can kind of isolate each section of the place as you're going through it and then just give you a visual of the, of the location that you're currently in. And then
I do
just
that with
there.
my home games. I show a lot of images. I want to get a TV. I have a real long table. I want a TV at the end of the table so I can pop them up on the screen instead of picking up my laptop and showing them to everybody. So that's something I got to work on.
Yeah, let's see. So remind folks the reason Forgotten Realms stays as big property is because Edward Grant has a deal that if WotC doesn't produce for it every 2 years, he gets the rights back.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, I don't think that they're going to be doing it in 2027, so he may very well get the rights back by 2027.
You ever listen to any of his videos?
A while ago.
He's pretty funny because, like, obviously he's a wealth of knowledge on that subject. But
yeah.
Like, he was talking about when the movie came out, and he liked the movie.
Yes, I saw it. I saw that. Yes.
But there was a great one where he was talking about like Wizards of the Coast because he's like, well, this character in the movie is actually dead because it died in a Richard Lee Byers novel. Like, he's got all this knowledge in his head.
Yeah.
And he's like, basically, he comes out and says, he's like, despite what WotC says that the books aren't canon, unless they've renegotiated my contract, they are canon, and they haven't renegotiated my contract.
Yeah.
The books are canon. And I thought that was great because he just,
kind of slapped it back at him. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, good for you. It's your setting, man. Like your brainchild.
Yeah. I think everybody from the TSR era should have their rights back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That includes like Hickman and Weiss, and that includes, Gygax, that includes, whether it's a Menser or, Greenwood, all of them. They should all get their rights back. They've either let it lay dormant forever, and never looked to bring it back, or when they have brought it back, they've, they don't have any intentions of really truly marketing it as well as they could.
So badly. I mean, they've done so poorly with like all the settings that they brought back,
Yeah.
Like, that's why I never understood people that you'd see people online. They'd be like, "Oh, I really hope they do this setting," and I'm like, "Why? Why would you want to do it?
I don't want to touch it. Don't touch it.
Show me
not touch
one
it.
that they've done a good job with.
Yeah,
you can't. I would just soon like now they have this Scion character, and people are like, "Oh, they're going to bring Dark Sun back," and why would you want them to? Because they're going to totally wreck it. Like I'd rather just source out the old material and use that. I would never use what they put out. Never.
Yeah.
No good. It's not just because I don't like them. It's because it's a proven thing. Like they've screwed up every setting. Like
they have, because it's done intentionally.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that it's done intentionally. It's like Disney, right? Disney has ruined every franchise it has ever acquired. And they do it on purpose because they know that they can't compete with that level of creativity. So if they make everything shit that used to be good, their mediocre stuff will look good in comparison. So it's like, and I think Wizards of the Coast is exactly the same way. They don't have half the talent, half the creativity of the original legacy creators, and they know it. And so they will either mothball it or they'll corrupt it and turn it to crap, and then see, oh, you see, because otherwise it would just create their own stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
But they don't have the talent to do.
Yeah, they don't have the talent to, to do anything but reboot. And now they want to use AI to, take everything from the past and just churn out new stuff.
To be honest, looking at their lineup, they'd probably be better off with AI. other than the hate that they would draw, because they have no talent there whatsoever.
Yeah, none left. Yeah, none left at
I
all.
I wasn't a Crawford fan or
No.
a Perkins fan, but Perkins he's been around a long time. Like
Yeah. He at
but
least had some
yeah, now
knowledge, but the last one that had any real knowledge about game design was Merle's.
Yep.
Yeah, he was the only one.
Yeah, now they got. I mean, he was the guy that designed the best-selling version of their game, and then they got rid of it, which that made a lot of sense. And now they have this woman working there. She started playing D&D in like 2018. Like, how much?
Yeah,
I have dice than her, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I know. It's
doesn't make any sense. Like, that's who you want, running your. I don't know what her title is, but they don't have. They have
no,
the guy that
she's a designer, but
yeah.
I think the only thing she did was come up with the aspect of that that Medusa and the Paladin being best friends, which I don't know how the hell that works out. You know what I'm saying? It's like but yeah, I think that it's she was a DEI hire, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, thanks a lot for coming on in. Everyone else, thanks for joining in and everything. And I will be seeing you throughout the week and everything. I'll be doing some videos and stuff. And then next weekend is a convention weekend, so you won't see me at all on Saturday. And I'll probably do a wrap up Sunday evening. So look for next Sunday around the same time, 7 p.m.
I'll probably still be driving.
Huh?
I'll probably still be driving.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, we'll see how that. Like I said, it's Father's Day, so I'm hoping to get home a little bit early. I might be out to dinner at 7:00 actually. So we'll see. We'll see what next week turns out to be. All right, guys.
Cool.
You all have a great one. Take care.
You too.
And